What's up, everybody? Episode 100, Mom's Basement MMA. I've made it all the way to 100 episodes. 100 episodes. I haven't gotten canceled yet. I'm still here. I'm still having a good time. And today we're going to do things a little bit differently. In this show, I am predominantly known for talking to a lot of like up and coming fighters, but I'm still a fan at the end of the day. And today I'm going to go ahead and scratch that fanboy itch. And I'm going to do it with one of my favorite fighters in the game. As always, I am your host, Barry Lysol, and joining me today is one of the best heavyweight fighters in the world. He's tall and he fights people. He is the seventh ranked heavyweight in the Bellator promotion. Steve Mowry. Steve, how are you doing, my friend?
Yo, it's good to be here. Thank you for having me, Mr. Lysol.
You are very welcome. It's an honor to have you. Perfect record, 10-0. And man, I just gotta, first and foremost, I have to congratulate you on your last fight. You fought Rakim Cleveland at Bellator 271. What have you been up to since your last fight?
Well, I got out of the fight relatively unscathed. So I got right back to work. I went right back to the gym, started to get ready for the next one. And we're hoping it's going to be soon.
I hope that for you as well. Steve, I really kind of wanted to like ask you a broader question. You have been in Bellator since 2018, 4 years now. In 4 years, you've been with the promotion, and I feel like Bellator has like changed a little bit in the amount of time that you've been there. Previously, in like 2015, 16, 17, right around that era, I feel like Bellator was like kind of like a lot of people talk shit about it and so like, oh, it's the retirement home, it's where all the misfits that the UFC doesn't want, they ship them over to Bellator. I think for a little bit that was true, but like now when I think of Bellator, I don't really think of old guys anymore. I think of like young and upcoming talent. I think of people like you. I think of Sergio. I think of AJ McKee. I think of Patchy Mix, Johnny Eblin. Like there are a lot of young guys that are part of the Bellator roster. Can you talk a little bit like what have you seen in your experience with being with the promotion as long as you have? Like, have you noticed other improvements in how the promotions run and just with the quality of talent that they've been bringing in since you've been there?
I mean, I feel like you summed it up pretty well. There was a time where it definitely seemed like they had every division, every weight class had like one or two guys that were like absolute studs. And then the connotation that surrounded the rest of the guys was that, you know, like you said, they were B-leaguers or they were like on the twilight of their career trying to cash in, you know. And it was right around the time 2016, 17, 18 that they started to like really double down and invest, you know, back into themselves as a company, you know. So like they signed, I remember, I want to say, I'll use him as an example, even though I don't know if he was like the first real big one, but like whenever they picked up Gegard Mousasi, that's kind of like what I think set the precedent. Like that was the big pivot in a new direction. It was like they were trying to solidify themselves and, you know, put their money where their mouth was in terms of like, no, we're a serious organization. We're signing good guys. And they also, at the time, they had the what I was part of. They had the developmental program, so they were picking up young, up and coming, you know, either late amateur or early pro dudes, and then building them into a position of, you know, at one time they were like just up and coming guys, and now they're ranked contenders.
Now you have the whole Showtime promotion behind you guys. I meant to say you have Showtime behind the promotion. That helps for exposure in a big, big way. What's interesting is I talk to fighters from all over the country and I keep hearing more and more and more. I really would like to go to Bellator. That'd be like the first choice if I could actually go there. Why do you think that is?
Well, like I said, whenever they started picking up dudes, I really think that they weren't just doing that in an attempt to say like, hey, we'll pay you more. Mm-hmm. It was also an attempt to, I think, try to like humanize the relationship between promoter and fighter. And I think that a lot of people are seeing that. I've never, you know, worked in a professional capacity with the UFC. But one thing that we hear time and time again is that they feel like they're livestock. They feel like they're not treated, you know, necessarily very well. You could go on about the pay, you could go on about whatever. But the fact of the matter is that some people that's however they do things just isn't their style in Bellator.
Obviously, they let you guys bring banners out. They let you guys have sponsors on your shorts still. I think that makes like a big difference. I'm sure even if the purse is comparable, which I don't think it is, I think Bellator generally tends to pay a little bit better for most of y'all. But like that's a huge benefit that I don't think we talk enough about. Like when it comes to like the UFC deal and kind of like that blanket sponsorship, if you're at the lower end of your, or I'm not gonna say lower end, but if you're breaking into the UFC, does having something like that, does that like hinder you or help you? I've always kind of wondered that.
It's an interesting thing to think about, right? So like you have the pay-per-view market is an absolute game changer for the people that are tapped into it, and that's not just the champions. We're finding out that over the years, a lot of guys did have a pay-per-view points clause in their contract. I think Chael's probably the most like prolific example. But, we'd be foolish to think that Conor McGregor is not cut into that. And then I'm sure if we really looked at, if we lined up probably the top 30 fighters of all time that competed in the UFC, I'm sure we'd find that of the top 30 of them, probably 10 or 15 had some sort of pay-per-view incentive, or whatever the case is, though. It's an absolute game changer to have that in your life, especially when you put points into the conversation, right? So for every one $50 pay-per-view or whatever, $75 now. But
it's crazy.
Yeah. But for every one of those that moves, if you get even something as low as 10% or 5% even, but then you sell 1 million of them, well, that's serious cash. That's like beyond life-changing money. That's, that goes from life-changing to fuck you money. You could do it 1 or 2 times and never do it again. Where Bellator, though, where they fit into it, even though they haven't really, I don't know if they just haven't found a way to make it work, or it's just not their style, or I really don't know what it is. But where they lack in the pay-per-view side is that across the board, fighters are paid higher in the sense that whatever money goes in to Bellator generally goes out into the fighters' pockets again. Mm-hmm. And then, like you said, a big selling point is being able to use your own sponsors, being able to have your own banner. And it's you can say whatever you'd like about how okay, well, just because you can't wear that stuff in the cage doesn't mean they can't sponsor you. But it's like, okay, well, imagine like fighting's a sport, right? It'd be like a billboard company telling you, well, we're not going to put you on our billboard, but we'll still talk about you. It's like, right. That's not really how that works,
Yeah, from a marketing standpoint, it definitely doesn't work. And I think one of the things that you hit on that's kind of interesting is what I like about the Bellator business model is it's on Showtime. And if you do the math for the cost of one pay-per-view for UFC, you have a year's worth of Bellator fights at your fingertips. So it's a lot more approachable and a lot more affordable for just your regular dude out there that likes to watch fights. If the UFC, I think they really need to think about their business model a little bit. If they're pissed off that people are stealing it all the time, well, maybe don't charge people $80 to watch a fight.
Right.
Just a general thought. Steve, I want to ask specifically about your take on the heavyweight class within Bellator. I think right now it's a very interesting time to be in your division. There are a lot of some of the most iconic fighters, Cheat Congo, Fedor, sitting at the top of the rankings. And then, of course, Ryan Bader, he had a great performance. He put away a really tough dude in Moldavsky. You're not even 30 years old yet. Like, you're just now like getting into your athletic prime. But I feel like there's going to be a lot of turnover and a lot of movement within the first 5 slots, whether it be because, like in Fedor's case, he's probably going to leave. Congo's probably not going to be around too much longer either. Do you see this as like the calm before the storm? Like, are you expecting there to be a lot of movement and a lot of opportunities at that upper part of the weight class?
That's the thing. There's something to be said, I guess, economically about that. Yeah, like there's now is the time to really capitalize on like the fact that the the big names at heavyweight are, just they're older.
Mm-hmm.
But for me personally, no, I really am just focused on. Sometimes I'm just focused on getting out of bed that day.
Yeah, I got you.
I'm not even thinking about fighting or how I'm going to perform. Every day is just get up, get out of bed, go to the gym, give my absolute best, and then let the chips fall, kind of thing. So, like you said, it is kind of interesting if you think about it. And there's a big pie in the sky kind of thing, and like where all the pieces are going to fall is interesting to think about. But it's just one of those things that's so far out of my control that I almost kind of throw my hands up at it, like, what, fuck it, I can't control that.
And I would be remiss to not mention, like, when it comes to like how the matches are made, you have to fight who's in front of you and who's ready. And when I look back at like you and over the past like couple years, there have been a lot of like big, tough, scary dudes that you're supposed to fight. And then for whatever reason, things don't add up, or people drop off, people get hurt, people get Rona, whatever the case may be. And now you're forced to like fight somebody you weren't necessarily planning to fight on short notice. Can you talk a little bit about like, how do you approach fights like that when you're fighting a dude last minute? You may not have had a lot of time to prepare for them. Cleveland was a good example. He was a guy that showed up at the last minute. Is that more stressful on you? Like, do you feel like the expectations ratchet up a little bit because people are like, not only are you an undefeated dude, and not only do you like take people out in the first round, but they're bringing in a guy for you. Like, does that like kind of like build up in you after a while?
I get, how does the pressure materialize?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like one of those things for me where, not to be corny or cliche, but like I really do feel like I'm fighting against myself. 80% of every fight is against myself, and that's not just, there's the mental aspect. Like, a big part of it is how much harder can I push myself in the gym? How much more can I add to my repertoire between fights, kind of thing. The opponent, while the opponent, everybody you fight, no matter where they're ranked or their record, they are going to present something to you that if you're not paying attention, it could be the end of you, or it could take you out that night. It's another one of those things where it's like, I don't know how much stock I can put into it because I don't know how much control I have over it. But I do have control over how I perform, what I do, how I think, how I feel, how I train. And, like I said.
Yeah, you have to fight who's in front of you. And I feel like some of the criticism, and I've talked shit, not about you, but I've talked shit about Bellator. Don't get me wrong. I'll be the first to admit it. I definitely have. And here is some of the shit talking. I've said this in the past. It's like, some guys in Bellator are protected and they are really careful about putting them in front of certain guys. They don't like it when a lot of the ranked guys fight each other. They're really careful about that, way more careful than the UFC is. But I get it. It's not all the weight classes are as deep. I understand it to a point. I totally get that. Like, do people ever talk shit about you saying like, oh dude, like you're fighting guys that they're bringing in for you. You need to, fight guy X, Y, or Z. I mentioned all that because just the other day you were talking about like, I want to fight somebody, and like you were like throwing out like these like interesting names and stuff about like these like really hardcore scary guys that I think would be freaking fantastic to see. Does some of what I just said, does that ever kind of like bother you? Do people ever like talk smack to you about the guys that you fought?
Well, that's the thing. I've had it asked to me before, especially right after fights, like, do you feel like you are ready for a step up in competition? And the question to me is a little bit, the question's a little pejorative for me because it's like, well, look, like this guy I'm fighting, like this dude I just fought is pretty good. And like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I definitely feel like everybody I fight is a step up from the next guy, but that isn't to say like, well, I've been taking it easy, biding my time, and I'm going to explode whenever the opportunity opens up. For me, it's a thing where it's like, well, yeah, every fight is a step up. Like, I'm not going to just go back and be like, I'm going to be an amateur again. It just,
right.
Fight dudes that they put out of the bar or whatever. So it's one of those things for the longest. I mean, even until recently, it was like, what do you mean I fight tough dudes? But it's kind of the point for me now, though. where it's like, I don't know. Maybe people really just don't know. Maybe people really just don't understand. It is a small mix of like, well, hey, look, I can only fight who's right in front of me.
Right.
But then it's a bigger piece of it is like, well, yeah, look, the second you walk into a cage thinking this is going to be an easy night for me, that's when you wake up looking at lights or in the hospital, or even sometimes you take a dude 100% seriously. You diet perfectly. You get all your rest. You don't goof off or mess around during camp, and you still end up with your shit pushed back.
Absolutely. And I think it's kind of one of those, like, you're screwed no matter what you do kind of situations. Like, that's typical anytime you're an athlete in anything, right? Like,
all the time.
Like, you could never lose a fight ever and beat everybody, and people are still going to talk shit. Like, you cannot please everybody. And like, when you flip the script, in your case in particular, let's say you were fighting guys in the top 5, then here's what the narrative would be. Oh, he's only fighting old guys that he should be beating anyway. So it's like, you're in a no-win situation no matter what.
And I really feel like the overarching issue there, which is an overarching issue in every facet of life, is people really just cannot interface with the idea that somebody's doing something difficult, and they have to find something to nag at you about.
Yeah.
And something like, you really just can't be happy. There's always going to be somebody saying something. You see it in politics. You see it in everything. It's somebody's always going to be complaining about something. And you really just can't be. And I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm sure I've done it too. I'm just saying that, like, especially my favorite people are the people on Twitter that have an avatar of like somebody that's clearly not them. It's like Connor screaming, or like,
some bro or the monster logo.
Yes, or something. And they're just talking shit, or they just make comments. And it's like, for me, it's all the much better, because it's like, well, yeah, look, not only are you not brave enough to say it to my face, but you're not even brave enough to say who you are that said it. So it's like,
you're relevant.
Yeah, it's just it'll get to the point for me. It'll get to the point, I guess, for a lot of guys, but it gets to the point where it's like, okay, well, look, I could read these fucking mongoloid comments all day, or I could just go on about my life,
Yeah, and for what it's worth, I mean, I'm a guy that just covers the sport of mixed martial arts. I'm nobody special, and people talk shit. I get kill yourself comments all the time. Like, I'm just like, Jesus, like. Well, thanks for stopping by, I guess. But like, I'm not sure what I did to like piss you off, but live your best life, man. I don't know what to tell you.
my Twitter notifications, I got to mention somebody tweeted at me and said, like, I don't know if anybody ever told you, but I'm going to say it now. Your tattoo is spelled wrong. And again, it was an avatar that wasn't them under like some other MMA account, like a blanket MMA account. And I was like, what a brave stance you took by telling me. It's just ridiculous.
When's the last time, honest to God, like in your entire adult life, have you like taken the time to make a burner social media account just to talk shit to somebody? Never.
That's what I'm saying, is like, where do people even find the time? And like, what do they get out of it? That's what I guess that's what confuses me more. Not about the comments. Like I said, people need to vent and talk shit and kind of like, what people need to just talk to make themselves feel better. But where I get more caught up is, I'm like, damn, like, if you invested as much time in this as doing something productive, you'd probably have people talking shit about you. And then maybe that's what they're scared of, is that they make themselves vulnerable enough that somebody will say something dumb and ignorant to them. Absolutely.
I completely get where you're coming from. I had one guy tell me, like, you're terrible. I should kill myself and all other sorts of stuff. And I was like, hey, if you think I suck, that's okay. You're free to like make your own MMA platform, and you're free to, I'm not stopping you. Like, if you think you're better than me, then go out there and live your best life, man. Like, more power to you. Like, you go ahead and you do that. But my favorite, probably the only time I can think, no, maybe not the only time, but like definitely the most outspoken clapback I've ever done was after my last fight. I was in the cage and I said, like,
I said, well, I don't want to fight Linton Vassell because he's a close friend.
Sure.
And I don't want to fight Gokhan Saracham because one, I already fought him, and two, because he comes and trains with us sometimes. But everybody else, we can make it happen. We can do it. Mm-hmm. So not even a whole day after I fought, some dude in the comments was like, people who say they don't want to fight their friend should have to fight their friend in their next fight. So I was like, I'd finally just had enough. Like, I was like, you're an idiot. So one night, this guy has, not only does he fight, but he has a tapology. He was like a 205er. So I hold off. I was like, all right, dude, how about you pack your stuff, come on down to Sanford. We can have a talk. You and me can fight. How about that? And then all of a sudden he was, well, I wasn't talking about you. I was just saying in general. And I was like, bro, I'm the guy in the video.
Yeah.
I'm the one who said that. You are talking about me to me. And then all of a sudden he was like, okay, well, you're going to pay my airfare and give me a tip too? And I was like, you're an idiot, dude. And but like that, it was just goes to show, like, the one time that somebody had like identified themselves enough that they were vulnerable. And I was like, well, hey, how about you and me fight? Then all of a sudden it's, well, I wasn't talking about you. And I was like, all right, dude, like, the least you could have done is owned it. Like,
yeah, like a little reverse Uno card. I like the Kevin Holland play for you, though. I like that. Call these people out.
Kevin Holland?
Yeah, you never heard about that?
Who's that?
So Kevin Holland,
the troll?
No.
Troll?
Yeah, him and the troll. Yeah. And some guy was saying like, "Oh, dude, I'd choke you out. You fucking suck." And he's like, "Okay, well then come into my gym." And he paid for this kid to come to the gym, and Kevin Holland like fucked him up like in like less than a
video.
minute.
I didn't watch the video, but I saw it was there.
And I was just like, good. Like, who else is brave? Like, keep talking. Like,
that's what I said. I was like, I'll pay your gym fee. Come on down. And then he was like, okay, you're gonna pay my airfare and tip too. I wasn't saying about you. And I was like, but you are saying about me. I'm the one who said it.
Yeah,
like,
you know what you said.
It would be like if you commented on something that President Biden said, and then President Biden responded back, well, I'm not talking about all presidents or even you as president. It's like, I'm the president in the video. Like,
yeah,
I think it's like the best example of that. Like, what we all want really is, we've all seen the comment of Alan Belcher. Somebody's talking shit to Alan Belcher, and Alan Belcher's like, would you say that to my face? And they're like, no, you kick my ass. It was like, see, why can't you just admit it? Like,
hey, that's absolutely perfect. I know it's just interesting, like the toxicity of social media. It's great for so many things, but there are a lot of idiots. Thankfully, most people are pretty nice to me. But yeah, there are occasionally some morons out there, and they just need to get slapped. One of the things I pick up on you, and one of the reasons why I'm such a big fan of you, is because like you come across as being this really genuine guy. Like, you talked about the guys that you didn't want to fight. I remember hearing about that stuff. Like, you talked, a lot of people wouldn't have gone to the lengths that you did to like put that out there for people to chew on. The other thing that's really interesting about you is like, you've never lost. You've never lost in your AMI career. You've never lost in your pro career. What is it about you that lets you stay humble and like keep working and not like buying into your own hype all the time? Some guys, like they buy into their own hype. They never get tested. They're undefeated. And then all of a sudden, like, they'll go on like a 7-0, 8-0 AMI run. And then all of a sudden they show up in their pro career and they find themselves 2-3 fights in the hole because they couldn't be coached. They didn't want to listen. They thought they were the shit. And then they get murked right away. What's enabled you to stay humble this entire time and continue to get better despite whatever your record is, which is perfect, by the way?
Well, God's been very good to me, and I've been very blessed to have the right people around me, not just in the sense that they were able to, they weren't just able to keep me accountable with their words and with their coaching philosophies and techniques. But I've always found myself in a position where even if I were to let my ego get the better of me, I get put back in my place right away. So I've especially now the last several years, between all the names that we've been at Sanford now, all the plethora of training partners I've had and teammates and all that, I think have all done just such a phenomenal job of holding each other accountable. But definitely one of the fruits that I've been able to enjoy since I've been there is that I've had a lot of good guys hold me accountable, not just in the sense that they call me out, but if I'm ever slacking or goofing up, they boom right away I get called out on.
I think that's really important that you like remain coachable and like you have that sort of like personality that you do to not get like caught up, because some guys do, and it's like a warning thing. And far be it from me to tell anybody, hey, you're buying into your hype too much. But it's one of those, I've seen it time and time again, where it's just like, I knew this was coming and it finally did. And now this guy's going to be behind the 8 ball for a while because he didn't want to listen.
Yeah, we see it. We see it in every sport. And then we see a lot of guys. My favorite stories are the ones where dudes were kind of not taken seriously or put on the back burner. And then through years and years and years of dedication and hard work, they were able to break out. And Tom Brady was like that. In light of him just retiring, was a dude that not a lot of people put stock into. And here he is 20-some years later, and he's considered maybe the greatest of all time.
I think, when it's all said and done, I think you could be the greatest heavyweight that Bellator's ever had. When it's all said and done, you're a young dude still, and you're just hitting your athletic prime right now. And I feel like there's this other whole back 9 of your career that you haven't even got to yet. And I'm excited for you. I'm excited for you to get those opportunities. What would you like to have happen in 2022? I know that the Golem cancellation happened. That would have been a really good fight. I really wanted to see that one. It didn't work out. Who are some of the guys that you might be interested in competing against in 2022? And do you have like an idea, like in the back of your head, like, I want to fight like twice, or do you even think about it that far out?
Yeah, I'd like to stay busy. But I don't know. I feel like anytime you say numbers or names, you kind of like limit yourself.
Yeah.
So not to give you a lazy answer, but like I said in my last post-fight interview, there's 2 guys that I'm just not interested in right now. I think I've made a pretty good case for why it doesn't make sense. But everybody else, I love to compete. I love to prove myself. I love to showcase my skills in front of an audience and fans that love the sport. And I'm just very blessed and grateful that I get to do what I do. So
I have a suggestion. So this is me talking. We did not talk about this before I hit the record button. This is not you leaking anything to me.
Let's do it.
This is me talking shit. I want you to fight Fedor in Russia for his last fight. Let's do it.
That's one where it's like, okay, I'll do it, but we got to have a talk about paychecks, because
I mean, Coker, hook that up, make that happen.
That's right.
I'm talking about like realistic. Like some people would scoff at that, but like look at the top 5. Look at the top 5. I don't think it's that unrealistic, because look at it. You have Bader, who's going to be fighting Congo in May. Bader has already fought, like he's fought a lot. And if Fedor wants to fight one more time this year, after the Congo fight, I don't think Bader's going to be ready for the rest of this year. Congo, he's 46, 47 years old.
When is that again? When are they fighting? May or June?
May. Yeah, it got announced for May. And
I knew they had a date in a venue book, but I didn't know.
But, I'm thinking about Fedor, and Scott Coker was talking about Fedor wanting to fight one more time. It's going to be his last fight. I just don't know how realistic it is to give him a title shot for his last fight, despite him doing really well in his most recent bouts. And I look, and it's just like, okay, well, if they're going to have this fight in Russia, they're not going to put him up against another Russian guy. He's out. And then you start looking, and then you start really digging deep, and it's like, well, who else could they put in there? I don't think it's a stretch to say that you could be Fedor's farewell fight. I don't think that's unrealistic by any stretch of the imagination.
We'll see.
We'll see. So just something to think about, Scott Coker. I may or may not tag you in this video. I I really want to see it. I think you've earned a big fight like that, and it would be really cool to be known as like the guy who like fought him last. I mean, he's one of the best ever to compete pound for pound, and I just think it would be a really cool opportunity for you.
Oh, no doubt. He's still competing well, and that's the thing. Like still doing well. Like still winning fights. It's
and
crazy.
He's not going to fight Tim Johnson again. That doesn't make sense. So there are 3 guys in the top 5 right now that probably aren't going to happen realistically. So I'm just saying, I don't think it's that far of a stretch. And before I let you go, I really wanted to just kind of ask you an abstract question. I know you do a lot of these podcasts, Steve, and like everyone always asks you about Sanford MMA. They ask you about your experiences and what you like about it. And I think you've covered that enough. But one of the things that I don't think it's covered enough are your teammates and the other guys in the other weight classes that you work alongside day in and day out. For the people that are watching this, can you talk maybe a little bit about some of your teammates that are competing on the local scene, whether they're in Titan FC or on the AME scene that you're excited about and fans like me should know about?
Sure. So do you also mean guys that compete at a high level but fans might not know about them kind of thing?
Sure. Why not? We'll keep it open.
So just for guys that I train with, like that I personally go against, I have a teammate, Victor Pesta. He's somebody that not a lot of guys know about. He's a UFC vet, but he's just in his last 3-4 years really had a career renaissance. Found a lot of new things that have been working out for him. He's been doing great. I'm really excited to see what's coming out of him. We have another younger. He's a little bit younger than me. He's a heavyweight. His name's Daquan Buckley. He's getting ready. He's 1-0 as a pro. He fought Royce White, the basketball player. Mm-hmm. He fought him in his MMA debut and he beat him.
Wow.
He just signed to the PFL Challenger Series. So keep your eyes out for Daquan. And then I have a good friend of mine, been a friend of mine for a long time. He just fought for Eagle FC. His name is DeMarcus Jackson. He had kind of a rocky start on the big show whenever he fought for Bellator, but he's a guy that any given day, he's got the power in his hands and the overall skill to just put somebody down, put somebody out. So he's somebody that even if you go back and watch his old fights or you watch his fights that are coming up, he's a guy that everybody should watch.
I think that's cool. And, definitely I'm going to start following these guys. I don't think I follow every single one of them. I certainly will do that. Steve, I want to give you the last word. I know that you have a lot of sponsors and folks that you probably want to shout out. I want to give you the opportunity to do that before I let you go.
Thanks to my teammates, all my team at Sanford MMA. Thank you to my coaches, my training partners, my teammates. Shout out to all my sponsors, everybody that helps me make the dream happen. God's been so good to me. I'm so blessed to have so many people help me along the way. And then 2022, I'm going to keep handing out that sweet, sweet violence.
I can't wait for it. And I hope I can talk to you before I get to episode 200.
Oh, absolutely.
Thanks, Steve. I really appreciate your time. You're an absolute legend. Appreciate it.